What's up, guys? This video is really primarily just for talking about my experience with film and what that's looked like. It's been a very interesting journey. I think I started shooting film in 2019 is when I really got into it. It was like the Canon camera that like everyone starts off with. I didn't really enjoy what those photos looked like at that time, but it was really just kind of just breaking into the medium and really understanding it. And I feel like that camera really taught me a lot. And then I transitioned over to like some other things like point and shoots. And then eventually I got this Contax, which is the one that I'm using most of the time. I have another camera that I like to use when I shoot more like commercial stuff for clients. As a filmmaker, it's like I rarely get to take photos for myself. It's really just, either for client work or capturing events or things like that. So photography is really sacred in a way, just because yes, I make most of my revenue, and I feed myself and my family through video, and I really enjoy that. But I feel like photography is where I started through like social media and learning about different ways that other people capture different perspectives and lighting, and playing with shadows, and then learning to how to edit and all that stuff. Slowly transition into shaping it a little bit more into who I am and how I perceive the world. I feel like film is a little bit more raw in, kind of just portraying my intentionality when capturing an image. So that's been like a really nice development when it comes to just my creative and who I am as a person and how I perceive the world. In that aspect, that's why I hold photography really, really sacred. And then I try to, minimize the gear that I bring with me, and that's why film just simplifies that a lot more. You just have one film stock, and you just have to worry about what's on the camera, and what stock of film you're loading into your camera, and that's basically just going to give you your image, right? You don't have to worry about color grading it or editing too heavy. And that's another topic that we can get into in the future about like editing film. I still touch it up a little bit, which is completely fine. It's a photo, it's supposed to be edited. We can't really do too much on it. I'm still learning the medium in a way, but I think it's allowed me to really be in the moment when capturing images. And I think that's why people transition over to film, just because it's a little bit more raw. Like you really have to focus. You have a limited amount of shots in your film roll, so you really have to make them count. So it makes you stop in your tracks, and everybody says that, but it's very true. And then it ultimately depends, depending on like the camera that you're shooting with. That's also going to give you a lot of personality, right? Like the lenses, maybe you're playing with filters, the way that you zoom into things, the perspectives, all that stuff. It makes the photo a little bit more unique, a little bit more you. And that's why this Contax G1 has been with me ever since, because I feel like this is really a version of myself as film, if that makes sense. Eventually I do want to get into like a Leica M6, and I have some friends pushing me to do that sooner than later, and it'll happen eventually. I just bought a Q3, so I'm still playing around with that. And again, it's just making that investment for something that like the Q3 is not necessarily something that I would push for client work, although it totally can be a workhorse, and it can be used for that. But it's more for me to like capture higher quality photos, to be a little bit more intentional with my digital footprint when it comes to capturing that. It slows me down even though it is digital, which it kind of gives me the same effect that this does for me. Talking a little bit more about like the types of photos and like the intentionality and things that it brings. In the moment, you're not really thinking about the edit, because you're not sure. Like you can take the photo and then the photo could completely come out not how you want it, being very dependent on like the conditions for shooting, and then hoping that everything turns out great. Thankfully, all the photos, even the photos that where I miss focus or lighting's a little bit harsh, and I wasn't able to meter light correctly, like those photos are still some of my favorites. And when I look back at those trips and where I took those photos, I feel like there's a lot of meaning behind those photos as well. Trips with colleagues, trips with my family, in places that I really love. All the photos that I took over in Florence and my Europe trip are absolutely some of my best photos that I think I've ever taken. And I haven't gone through like the archive and been able to pull all of those. They are absolutely my favorite photos. And I think like the ones in New York as well, like those two trips were really meaningful for me, just because I got to connect with a lot of people and I got to be in places I really love, Europe and New York City. So I'll throw up like on the screen like some of those photos, I'm pretty sure, but the framing, the colors, like the image that I was able to capture and kind of just remembering what was going on at that time, it's the reason why I shoot film. It's the reason why I continue to pursue this medium. And I'm very conservative on like the amount of film that I shoot, just because, like I mentioned earlier, photography is very sacred to me, or at least I hold it very sacred. So the photos that I do take, I try to not spray and pray, but be more intentional with the ones that are at least for me to enjoy or for me to put out to the world. And that's why I'm shooting film right now. I'll continue to shoot film, and if you guys are tagging along through social media and you know that I'm going on a trip, or you see me somewhere else that's not home, I'm probably shooting film and I'm probably gonna bring it. My ultimate goal, I guess this year especially, and it's something that I've been putting off throughout the years, is to make a film book. There's a couple books that I really enjoy. I don't have it with me, but like Joe Greer's is a big inspiration, and kind of just capturing landscapes. Again, being in those moments and places that like mean a lot to you, being able to capture them through a medium that is very tangible. I feel like you can feel the photo, you can feel the texture, you can feel the image that's behind the lens, and that's being ingrained in that film. I think some other photo books, let me just get it. It's not film photography, but I think Evan Raft, he shot most of these on a Leica, I believe. This book is very cool. It's really a big inspiration for something that I want to do in the future. It's called Memento. He's shooting through New York City and like a variety of different places that he visited, and there's a variety of different like colors and framings and frame guides. And yeah, this book is another big inspiration. Big Ansel Adams fan. I have a couple of like national parks, special edition prints. Yeah, these are like some of like the bucket shots that I'm aiming for. He was able to capture such essence and life into these photos, and they're all black and white, and a lot of these kind of break down like the thought process. And this one is just like a picture of Half Dome, and it just describes like what it is, and it makes you just sit there and look at it and analyze it and try to figure out like what that feel was like when he took that photo. There's like so many places that I want to photograph that are in this book. It also means a lot to me, just because some of these books were gifted by my mom, and they just mean a lot to me. So there's more to photograph. I think it also, just allows me to share a little bit of the world with others. And again, through the medium of film, it just makes it a little bit more tangible, right? I want to make you feel like you're there with me, that you're sharing the view, you're sharing the colors, you're sharing the perspectives and everything. So that's why I continue to shoot film. And like I said, I'll continue to shoot it. And I'm really interested in merging the two with the Leica, because I feel like the Leica allows me to have a little bit more range. And when I eventually make the transition over to an M6, that would be really interesting as well. Very intimidating, shooting with a different camera. And again, I only pick it up in like certain situations that are very meaningful that I really want to capture. So I'm not shooting every day. It's also a very expensive hobby to be shooting film. You have to buy the rolls, and they're not necessarily cheap, and then you have to develop them, which is again not necessarily cheap. Eventually, maybe I would get into developing. I'm not quite sure. I don't quite trust myself, nor do I have the setup to be able to do it, and it'll be a learning curve. So I'm sure I have friends that could probably teach me. I could probably learn on YouTube and all that stuff, but for now I'll trust the pros to be able to develop my film and trust them with the process. So that's just a little rant about film, what it means. Follow some of my work. I'll be going on some trips. We're going to Seattle later this year, which is going to be really, really cool. I've never been to Seattle, so it'll be an experience, and I can't wait to capture it both on film and digital. And I feel like with every trip that I take, I have a different perspective. So thanks for listening to me rant for, I'm not sure how long I've been ranting for already. I'm excited to share some more stuff with you guys. So I'll catch you later.